What about an ellipse that's sitting on a top surface? Let's try and break that down. And this is real interesting. Where's the minor axis going if there's an ellipse sitting on a horizontal surface? It's straight up and down. So let's this time go ahead and draw in that minor axis. And let's create a small cylinder. The degree that you put on this doesn't really matter, but this looks like it's probably 15 or 20 degrees. Let's put another one. Now, if anything, so this is below. I'm looking at this top surface, which means ultimately, if we think about this in relation to the horizon line, where is this ellipse or this circle in relation to the horizon line as we look at it?
Below it.
It's below it? Is it close or far away?
Close.
It's pretty close. How do we know that it's close? Because of the small degree, right? Okay, and if we move down and I want to put another ellipse here, and it gets therefore further away from the horizon line, then if anything, and I'll be honest with you, most of the times if I'm drawing something about this size, I'm probably just going to try and almost, select, copy, and paste and move this thing down that minor axis. But if anything, it needs to be a little bit fatter. So just to exaggerate that, I'm going to make this one just a little bit fatter. And if I need some help drawing out and making it the same width, I can go ahead and put in these lines. Here's where I use the chord method. Now here's the question. I've got my minor axis. Where are my vanishing points? And if we think about this, this object is not square. Vanishing points are really determined by those straight edges, right, along the top or bottom of cubes. So if all I'm drawing is a cylinder, or if all I'm drawing is a glass or a goblet or whatever it may be that is radially symmetrical, I don't necessarily need vanishing points. But if I need to figure out where vanishing points are, if I have a detail over on the side of this object, how do I do that? Anybody got a clue? Well, I can determine the first one for myself. Okay? So let's say I've got an object, or I've got some kind of detail on the side of this cylinder. I don't really know what it is right now. We're just going to put a little hole in there. Or a groove. I can pick out the first vanishing point, whether it's right or left. I usually pick out the right vanishing point. I don't really know why. But I'm going to use the center of that ellipse, that point, and I'm going to draw a line to determine my right vanishing point. So I did that first, and I picked it. Now how do we find the left vanishing point? Is it just the same angle coming through this way? No? Yeah.
We'll make like a chord.
Yeah, I can make a chord. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm looking at this right here. Probably should define it a little bit better. But I'm going to try and go through this line towards the left vanishing point and therefore create a chord right in this area. And so that's probably not enough. It's a little bit flatter than that. Just to highlight what I'm trying to do there. There's that chord. And so in this instance, I'm starting my sketch out with an ellipse, and then I'm using the chord method to determine where everything is. So now what I want to do is I actually want to draw, and this is just for the purposes of this exercise, I want to try and draw a, I'm going to find the intersection points. I can take this now and run it through the center, that center point. So here, that's where these lines are. And so what I want to do is I'm going to just try and draw a square surface around that ellipse. And I'm using the same rules that we talked about earlier with this. I'm going through that point, or attempting to go through it where it's tangent. That line now becomes a line that is tangent to that circle at that point. Does that make sense? We'll do this one more time in just a second. Let's go ahead and fill in this ellipse, or this cylinder. Let's darken in the sides just a little bit. Slow that pen down. And don't do this bottom one just yet. Let's draw in that top ellipse. First. And then what I want you to look at here, and wow, this is not a good example. Let's come in right there. What I want you to look at this top edge, and this is where people will make a lot of mistakes when they do just freehand sketches. What I'm looking at right now is this little detail right there. And so what's happening? This ellipse is coming around. We've talked about tangency, and it's very important when we're talking about ellipses. This edge is coming around, and this vertical line where it hits that ellipse should also be tangent. And the same thing should happen. I shouldn't see an angle. So a lot of times what you'll see right here is people will draw like just an arc across this. But if we really look at it, if I'm going to draw in that bottom ellipse, I really want to start by drawing this straight line and then come out of it in a tangent manner, and then come around and make sure that there is no corner. It's just a nice smooth transition. Okay, let's give this some value. So on this, we've been doing there's different ways to cross-hatch a curved surface. On this one, it's pretty simple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start by drawing some lines that are really close together and just draw them in vertical. And as I move around this object, I'm just going to make them a little bit further apart. Same thing over here, but not as much. So my highlight should be somewhere to the left side of the center of that ellipse.